There's a young boy named Ethan. He's about 8 years old, with messy brown hair and big, bright eyes. He lives in a small, run-down house with his mom and little sister. Money is tight, and they often have to make tough choices. Ethan doesn't mind. He's used to it. But deep down, he always dreams of having something nice, something just for himself. Every day after school, Ethan passes by the big toy store on the corner. The store is colorful and inviting, with shiny toys in the windows. He looks at them longingly, imagining what it would be like to have just one toy from the shelves. He never goes inside, though. He can't. His clothes are old, and he knows he doesn't look like he belongs there. But every time he walks past, he can't help but stop for a moment. His fingers brush the cool glass of the window, his eyes scanning the toys inside. A shiny red truck, a new action figure, a plush bear. Ethan wishes he could have something like that. Something to call his own. He wishes he could be like the other kids, who walk in and out of the store without a care in the world. But Ethan knows better. He knows the world doesn't work that way for people like him. Today, like every other day, he stands outside the store. The sun is starting to set, casting a warm, golden light across the street. Ethan stares at the toys in the window, his thoughts drifting away. If only he could have just one. Ethan takes a deep breath. Today feels different. For some reason, he feels brave. Maybe it's the way the light reflects off the toys in the window, or maybe it's because the store looks so warm and inviting. Whatever it is, he steps forward, walking through the door. The bell above the door jingles as he enters, and for a moment, Ethan freezes. The air inside smells like fresh wood and new plastic. The store is full of shelves stacked with every kind of toy imaginable. Bright action figures, dolls with long hair, shiny cars, and colorful blocks. Everything is perfectly arranged, each toy begging to be touched. Ethan stands just inside, unsure where to go first. His heart beats faster. He slowly moves through the aisles, touching the soft fabrics of plush animals, and running his fingers over the smooth surface of toy cars. He doesn't pick anything up. He just feels it all, imagining what it would be like to own something so nice. He's careful not to stand too long in one spot. He doesn't want to draw attention to himself. He knows how it feels to be out of place, and he doesn't want anyone to notice. But as he moves through the store, his excitement builds. There's a small truck on the top shelf, red, shiny, and perfect. He wants it so badly. It's exactly what he's always dreamed of. He reaches up, just touching the edge of the truck. His fingers brush against it, and he can almost feel it in his hands. The truck looks so real, so close. His mind races with thoughts of what it would be like to have it. He imagines himself playing with it, taking it outside, and showing his friends. But then, a cold wave of reality washes over him. He can't have it. Not here. Not today. He lowers his hand, his shoulders slumping a little. The dream is just that, a dream. Still, he lingers, moving quietly through the aisles. He doesn't want to leave. Not yet. The toys make him feel alive in a way that nothing else does. But he knows it's only a matter of time before he'll have to go. Ethan is lost in the world of toys, his hands lightly brushing against the shelves as he walks through the store. He's forgotten about everything else, the outside world, the cold, the hunger. For now, it's just him and the toys. He's enjoying this moment, even though he knows it won't last long. But then, a voice cuts through the silence. "Hey, what are you doing here?" Ethan turns around, his heart jumping in his chest. Standing behind him is a store employee. The man is tall and wearing a red apron. His eyes are sharp, and there's a look on his face that makes Ethan feel small, like he doesn't belong. I'm just looking," Ethan says quietly, hoping the man won't make a big deal out of it. The employee raises an eyebrow. "Looking? You're not planning on taking anything, are you?" Ethan's stomach drops. He feels a rush of heat in his face, the kind of feeling that comes when someone accuses you of something you didn't do. "No, sir, I'm just looking." The man doesn't seem convinced. "We don't need any troublemakers in here. If you're not buying anything, you shouldn't be wasting our time." Ethan can't believe it. He's just a kid, standing in the middle of a toy store, and yet he's being treated like a thief. He feels his throat tighten. He looks down, avoiding the man's gaze, hoping he'll just walk away. But the man doesn't stop. "You need to leave," he says, his voice sharper now. "I don't care if you're just looking, This isn't a place for kids who don't have the money to pay. Ethan feels like the floor has dropped out from under him. The words sting. He's heard people talk like that before, like people who don't have money don't matter. But hearing it from an adult, in a place that's supposed to be safe and fun, makes it hurt even more. I wasn't doing anything wrong, Ethan says quietly, trying to keep his voice steady. Leave now, or I'll call security. Ethan's eyes well up, but he blinks quickly to push the tears away. He's not going to cry. Not here. He turns and walks toward the door, his feet dragging with every step. The bell above the door rings as he exits, and he can hear the man behind him muttering something under his breath. It feels like everyone is staring, even though they're not. Outside, the cold air hits his face like a slap. Ethan's hands shake, but not from the cold. He feels embarrassed and ashamed, even though he knows he did nothing wrong. He looks back at the toy store through the window, the toys now seeming so far out of reach. Ethan walks slowly away from the toy store, his shoulders slumped and his head low. He doesn't even look at the toys anymore. His mind is too full of the harsh words from the store employee. Why had he been treated like that? All he wanted was to look at the toys, to dream for just a little while. The cold wind bites at his cheeks, but it doesn't seem to matter. His stomach growls, reminding him that it's been a while since he had anything to eat. He shivers but keeps walking, not really paying attention to where he's going. He feels invisible now, as if the whole world had forgotten about him. Hey, are you okay? The voice catches him off guard. Ethan looks up, surprised to see a man standing in front of him. The man is dressed in a fine suit, his shoes shiny and polished. He looks like someone who has everything. A businessman, maybe. His face is kind, his eyes warm and curious. There's something about the man that feels different from the harshness Ethan's used to. Ethan doesn't know how to respond. His throat is tight, and for a moment, he wonders if he should just walk away. He's not used to people talking to him like this. People who are different. People who look like they belong in places he can't go. I'm fine, Ethan mutters, looking down at his feet. Just had a bad day. The man seems to sense that there's more going on. Bad day? What happened? Ethan hesitates. It feels strange to talk about it to a stranger, but something in the man's eyes makes Ethan want to share. Maybe it's because the man doesn't look at him like he's invisible. Maybe it's because, for once, someone is actually asking. I went inside the toy store, Ethan starts, his voice quiet. I was just looking at the toys. I didn't have any money, but I just wanted to look. But then, they told me to leave. They said I didn't belong there. The man listens carefully, nodding slowly as Ethan talks. Ethan feels like he's finally being heard. It's strange, but it feels good. The man doesn't judge, doesn't ask why Ethan can't afford toys. He just listens. That's not right, the man says softly, his tone full of sympathy. Nobody should be treated like that. Ethan looks up at him, surprised by the kindness in his voice. It feels like the world just shifted, like for once, someone cared. The man looks at Ethan for a moment, his face thoughtful. Then a gentle smile spreads across his lips. What if I told you I could help you get something from that store? Ethan blinks, confused. What do you mean? The man gestures back toward the toy store. I saw the way you looked at those toys. I'm sure there's something you really want, something special. What was it? What caught your eye? Ethan hesitates, his eyes drifting back to the toy store. His heart skips a beat as he remembers the red truck on the top shelf. It was the one thing he really wanted, the one thing that had made him feel like he could belong, even if just for a moment. But he shakes his head, unsure. I don't have the money for it. I can't afford anything there. The man steps closer, his voice soft but sure. It's okay. I'm not asking you to pay. I just want to help you get something to remind you that you matter. Ethan's eyes widen. Could this really be happening? No one had ever offered him anything like this before. He felt a mixture of surprise and uncertainty. He didn't want to seem ungrateful, but it felt strange to accept charity, especially from someone he didn't know. I don't know. Ethan starts, his voice trailing off. The man places a hand gently on his shoulder. It's not charity. It's just kindness. Sometimes, a little kindness can make a big difference. What do you say? Will you let me help you pick out a toy? Ethan stands there for a moment, his mind racing. He's never been in a situation like this before, and it feels almost too good to be true, but the man's kind eyes make him want to believe it's real. After a long pause, Ethan nods slowly. Okay, I'll go with you. The man smiles. Great choice, let's go get you that toy. Ethan can hardly believe it, but a spark of hope begins to flicker inside him. Maybe today won't be as bad as he thought. Maybe, just maybe, there's more kindness in the world than he realized. Ethan follows the man back into the store, his heart racing. As they step inside, the bell above the door jingles again. The store feels different now. The lights are warmer, and the toys seem to sparkle a little more, as if they're waiting for Ethan to pick one. The man walks with Ethan toward the toy aisle, his steps confident and steady. Ethan can barely keep up, his mind still trying to wrap around what's happening. He never imagined that someone would actually buy him something, especially not after the way he'd been treated earlier. They reach the shelf, where the red truck sits. Ethan's eyes fall on it instantly. There it is, the truck he had dreamed of. It looks even better up close. The shiny red paint glints under the store lights, and Ethan feels his chest tighten with excitement. The man looks at him and smiles. This one? He asks. Ethan nods, his throat tight. He can't believe this is real. Yes, that's the one. The man picks it up from the shelf, carefully holding it in his hands. Good choice. I think it's a perfect fit for you. Ethan feels his heart swell with gratitude. Thank you, he says softly, his voice shaky. The man leads him to the counter, where the cashier smiles at them. Ethan's cheeks flush as they approach, but this time there's no fear, there's no shame. The cashier rings up the toy, and Ethan watches, still in disbelief. The man hands over his card, and within moments, the truck is paid for. The cashier places it in a small bag, and Ethan's hands tremble as he takes it. The weight of the toy feels heavy in his hands, but in a good way. It's more than just plastic and metal, it's a symbol of kindness, of something he never thought he'd have. Ethan stands holding the bag with the toy truck inside, in disbelief. He never imagined it would be his. The man smiles and tells him, "You deserve it. Kindness can change everything." Ethan thanks him, struggling with emotion. "I don't understand. I didn't do anything to deserve this." The man crouches down saying, "Kindness isn't earned. You've got a good heart, Ethan." Ethan feels a shift inside him. Maybe he's more than someone just getting by. The man pats his shoulder. "Take care of that truck and remember, kindness is always out there." Ethan nods, touched. "I won't forget this." The man waves and leaves, leaving Ethan with a heart full of hope and the reminder that there are still good people in the world. Ethan walks slowly down the street, his steps light, despite the weight of the toy in his hands. The bag feels like it's full of more than just plastic and metal. It feels like it's full of hope. Hope that things can change. That kindness can break through, even the hardest days. As he walks, he thinks about the stranger. Who was he? Why had he helped? Ethan doesn't know the answers, but what he does know is that the man didn't have to do anything. He didn't owe Ethan anything. And yet, he had chosen to make his day brighter, to show him that kindness still exists, even in a world that can often feel cold and unforgiving. Ethan's mind drifts back to the way he'd felt earlier, standing outside the store, looking at the toys and thinking that they would always be out of his reach. He had been so certain that he didn't belong there, that people like him never get a chance. But now, with the truck in his hands, it feels like that moment was a lifetime ago. He finds a bench near the park and sits down, the toy resting on his lap. He looks at it for a while, his fingers tracing the smooth surface. It's just a toy, but it means so much more. It's a reminder that sometimes the world is kinder than it seems, that there are people who care, who will reach out when you least expect it. Ethan smiles to himself. He doesn't know what the future holds, but he knows that he won't forget this day. He won't forget the stranger's kindness, or the way it made him feel like he mattered. And maybe one day, when he's older, he'll be able to do the same for someone else. Maybe, just maybe, he'll be the one who makes a difference. He stands up from the bench, clutching the toy in his hands. As he walks home, he feels different, stronger, happier, and for the first time in a long time, he doesn't just see the toys in the store window. He sees a world full of possibilities.